All right, well, let's finish this up. This is our last chapter and we're done. Anybody read through it?
No.
Anybody look through it? Anybody even glance at it? A little bit? Okay. All right. I got you.
That's for $20.
Oh, for both?
I'll be all right with it.
Once the inserts go in, it's time to go see my ortho.
All right. Won't you any lights on? All right. Let's do this. Let's see what we're gonna find out for this last chapter. Diagnostic process. Everybody knows what that is, right? We went through this lots of times. Okay? Obviously, in this business, being able to diagnose a problem with the car is probably one of the most important things you can do, okay? If you can't figure out what's wrong with the car, you can't fix it, right? You can't just throw parts at it, okay? They frown on that, all right? Types of scan tools that are used to access vehicle components, steps for retrieving the diagnostic information of PCM, which is pretty easy. We went through that a little bit on that scan tool out in the parking lot the other day. And I'm sure you've used them at dealers from time to time when you're there watching or helping or whatever, right?
Yes.
Most of the time they just use their computers, right?
Yes.
Okay. The computer, basically at their workstations, kind of become the scan tool because it's all Bluetooth. They just probably just plug in a thing to the diagnostic connector and all the information goes to their workstation computer. All right, troubleshooting procedures. Diagnostic trouble code's been set. Methods for reprogramming. This, we're not going to worry too much about because reprogramming is not something you would typically do unless you are going to do a if you notice a lot of recalls or programming updates, so a car comes in, it's got a recall for whatever, a lot of times it's just a software update on a particular system on the vehicle. Or if you have to replace a PCM, it's gonna have to be programmed, but again, that's gonna all be done through that workstation at the computer. So, okay, we're familiar with this, and hopefully by now we've been through this many times. Very first thing you have to do is verify the problem. Whatever the customer brought the car in for, verify that that condition exists, okay? If they say my car pulls to the right when I'm driving down the road and I let go of the steering wheel, make sure it does that. Don't just go put it on the alignment rack and try to figure out what's wrong with it. Make sure that that problem exists, okay? Maybe it's the road they're driving on. Maybe there's nothing wrong with the car, okay? The visual inspection and basic tests we've been through, look for obvious problems. This is always good. Like I've mentioned before, if you get a car with an EVAP system code leak, P0442445, something like that, first thing you can do is check the gas cap. Do the basics and the easiest things first. You don't want to overlook something that would be really easy to fix, and then you start digging into something and you'll never find the problem because you overlooked the obvious, okay? Sometimes problems aren't as big as they seem. Check everything that does and doesn't work. We've been through that before. Evidence of previous repairs. Remember the car that you said that came from Enterprise that they did whatever to, and sometimes people have worked on cars before that shouldn't have been touching them, and maybe that's what the problem is somebody did something wrong or whatever, okay? Give you a good example of that. I had a friend bring me a car. He wanted me to replace the engine, and I decided I didn't want to do it. So I gave the job to another friend of mine. So he replaced the engine. He gets all done with it. The guy picks it up. He's driving down the road. Everything's fine. And then all of a sudden, all the lights come on the dash, and all of a sudden it's got no power. He's got to pull over to the side of the road, and he's going, what the heck's going on here? So he had a little code reader thing in his car, I guess, that he keeps in there. So he checked it out, and there was something going on with the throttle body, electronic throttle control, right? This guy right here. So he calls the guy up, and he goes, hey man, I just picked up my car from you, and now it's doing this. And he goes, oh, probably something wrong with the throttle body. And normally that's what it would be, okay? So the guy gets out, he opens the hood, takes the engine cover off of it, and he found out that this plug wasn't plugged in all the way. So all he did was just click it into place. Everything was fine after that. So it looked like a big problem, right? All the lights are on the dash, low, reduced engine power, car won't go over 15 miles an hour or whatever. Sounds like a big problem, right? All you have to do is plug that connector in, okay? So again, look for the obvious and the easy stuff first. It may not be a big problem, okay? Oil level and condition is always important because a lot of times, maybe that's all that's wrong with your friend's Volkswagen. Does this guy change his oil on time? Is it low on oil?
He said he did,
He said, yeah.
but it might be the person that owned it before, because he said he bought it and it was like that.
Oh, really? Yeah, okay. Well, this is what I tell people all the time when they ask me about a used car. I said, a used car is all about who owned it before. Okay? So if the person, the car might be low mileage, it might only be a few years old or whatever, but if the person that owned it before beat it up, it's still a piece of crap, right? But if the car is 20 years old and it was taken care of, and it might be better than a 5-year-old car that somebody didn't treat right? So it's all about who owned it before. So probably whoever owned that car before didn't change the oil, or it's low on oil, whatever, and maybe that's where that problem came from, and now he's got to live with it. So make sure the coolant is good, full, all that kind of stuff. So this is good things to remember as far as diagnosing or repairing any vehicle, okay? You're going to see this funnel a whole bunch of times, which you probably see it on almost every page, if you'll notice. And all they're trying to do is give you the process, okay? What's the customer concern? What are we gonna do about it? Let's get the repair complete, let's verify it's okay, you know, whatever. And then, you know, the end result is the car's fixed, customer's down the road, everybody's happy. You get paid, customer's car's fixed, and that's that. So that's all that's about, okay? It's just starting at the top and finding your way to the end result. Customer concern, verify the problem, do your initial inspects, check for codes, whatever it happens to be, and at the end of the line, the car's done, right? Okay. This is a form that the customer is not going to fill out. There's really nothing new in this chapter that we haven't seen before. This would be an example of a visual inspection. That's obviously air filter hasn't been changed in 100 years, and there was something living in there too. It's obviously why the car isn't running right. Right? The car can't breathe. There's a rat stuck in the intake. Whatever. Okay. We know that the smoke machine is a good tool to help find any type of evap system leak, vacuum leak, exhaust leak, intake leaks, anything like that. Spark tester we've been through. If you have a problem with the cylinder and you suspect the spark is bad, easiest thing to do if it's a coil and plug, which most of them are, just swap the coils. Okay? I know we've talked about that before. Let's say you get a car in and it has a P303. Cylinder number 3 misfire, right? One of the easiest things to do is to swap the coil with another cylinder. Then if that misfire moves to that cylinder, you know that coil's bad. Okay? You didn't have to go buy a part and then take it back, say, oh, I didn't need this or whatever. Just swap it with a known good one on the car. Okay? If the misfire doesn't move, then you don't have to swap them back. They're all the same. Right? You don't have to put it back where it was. You just know that that's not the problem now. Okay? So then you would just move on from there. But check the easy and obvious things first. Trouble codes. Present the computer. If the diagnostic trouble code is present in the computer memory, it may be signaling or illuminating the malfunction indicator lamp, check engine light, service engine screen, whatever that happens to be called on that vehicle. There is a lot of codes that will not turn the light on. So sometimes when you check the codes in a car, it may have whatever turned the light on, and it may have 3 or 4 other codes that won't illuminate the malfunction indicator lamp. So you'll have to kind of go through and make sure that those aren't a problem also. Sometimes when you fix the original problem, all the other ones go away with it. Like remember when his car was misfiring, the traction control light and all this stuff was come on. There was nothing wrong with the traction control. That comes on because it was misfiring. It's telling you that that system won't work anymore because the engine isn't running right. So you don't have to go through and fix the engine and then go, okay, so what's wrong with the traction control system and all these other codes that were set? There's nothing wrong with it. You fix the engine, the rest of them go away. Okay? Okay. Again, they're just going to go through this whole funnel from A to Z here. Step 3. You're going to have access to technical service bulletins. According to this, approximately 30% of cars can be fixed using a technical service bulletin. I don't know that that's true. I've never seen a situation where 30% of the cars I worked on could be fixed by looking at the service bulletins, but they are helpful, and sometimes they will lead you to the problem that may be the easiest way to get to it. If there's no service bulletin on the concern that you have, then don't even worry about it. If there is, make sure it applies to that vehicle, because sometimes it will, sometimes it won't. Look carefully at the data on the scan tool. Best way to look at it is in a definite sequence with specifics, selected bits of information that can tell you about how the engine is operating. Narrow the problem down to a system or a cylinder, whatever it happens to be. Perform specific tests such as power balance, compression test, cylinder leakage, if it has low compression. You'll get to know this after a while. Easy way to check and see if a car's got low compression. You don't even need any tools. All you need is your ears. Okay? I've seen this happen so many times I can't believe it. And this is even from seasoned technicians, where they're trying to find a misfire and they're changing parts, and I'll look at the vehicle and I'll go, put your foot all the way to the floor and crank it over. Let me just hear the engine crank. And the engine cranks uneven. I go, you got low compression. You're chasing your tail. Well, how do you know? You can tell by the sound of the engine. So whatever cylinder was misfiring, check the compression on it. Sure enough, compression's low. But you don't even need a tool to do that. After a while, you'll just be able to just hear the rhythm of the engine as it cranks. If it doesn't crank even, it's got low compression on at least one cylinder, maybe more. Okay? So a lot of times you can do a compression check with your ears, just cranking the engine over. Just listen for the rhythm of, if it doesn't crank even, if there's a spot where the engine speeds up for a second, you got low compression. Okay? Okay. After you've done that, verify that you did fix the vehicle, clear the codes, test drive it if necessary. Make sure it's all good before you park the car and give it back to the customer. You're basically going to be using factory scan tools for the most part. I mean, if you buy your own for work at home or whatever you want to do, that's fine. But probably be a good idea to at least buy something better than just a basic code reader, you know, if you're going to actually do this. You know, like the one that I brought in the other day. It's fairly expensive, but it's not that bad. I think it was $600, but it'll make you a lot of money over it'll pay for itself 1,000 times. Okay, we know all about the pins on the diagnostic connector. Again, they're all the same from 96 up. They're all 16-pin universal connectors. Every scan tool will work in any car. However, if it's just a basic scan tool, it may not give you all the information you need. In fact, it won't. They're all set up to, I think, just read powertrain codes. They don't really have to do anything more than that. But it'd be a good idea to spend the money and get a good one if you're going to do something at home. And they do have these that will Bluetooth to your phone. I mean, not a bad thing to have. Anybody used those before? I think somebody said you did, right? Did you find that it was pretty helpful?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's easy too, and it was cheap.
Yeah, I've never used one. I know about them. I've seen them used, but I don't. You know, I don't have one. Okay, difference between a factory level and an aftermarket scan tool. They'll only do certain brands normally. This is just basic information here, hooking up the scan tool. I mean, there's really nothing you have to learn here. Pinning down the cause of the actual problem can be accomplished by trying to set the opposite code. So what does that mean? If the opposite code sets, this indicates a wiring and connector in the sensor are okay, and the sensor itself is defective. The same code sets, this indicates a wiring or electrical connector is open, high resistance, and is the cause of setting that. So, what they're saying here is if you have a code for coolant sensor circuit shorted, and you unplug the sensor, and it sets a code for coolant sensor circuit open, which is the opposite of shorted, right? Then you know the wiring is good, you know the connector is good, you know the PCM is good, the sensor is bad at that point, right? Because the PCM recognized that it was shorted, that was your original problem. You unplugged it, and it recognized that now the circuit's open. That's what they're talking about here, okay? And you can do that with just about any sensor. If you unplug something on a car, that check engine light's going to come on like that, normally. And it's going to say that circuit for that particular whatever is open, okay? Methods for clearing the code, we all know the best way to do it is with the scan tool. We don't do that anymore. That was old school stuff. Some Chrysler products will give you trouble codes on the dash by turning the ignition on and off 3 times. It will display a code on there such as this P0122 on this. But again, it's not really gonna give you any information, it's just gonna tell you, okay, it's got a P0122 stored in there. Cadillacs used to have diagnostics on the dash where you could use the AC controls to get trouble codes from it. Just push two buttons at the same time and hold them, and it would display codes, and you could scroll through them on your HVAC controller. I'm sure they don't do it anymore. This was years ago. All right. You know where the diagnostic connector is? It's normally underneath the dash on the driver's side. Yeah, we know everything 96 and newer is OBD2, and it has the universal connector on it. Nothing new there. You've seen that 100 times. We've been through the drive cycle. The vehicle must be driven under a variety of operating conditions for all of the active tests to be performed. Normally, you will not have to do a drive cycle on a vehicle. If a car comes in for a failed smog, or it comes in for a smog, it fails, you do a repair on it, you clear the codes, you've also erased all the emissions monitors, which means it's gonna have to go through a drive cycle before it can be tested again, okay? Normally, you won't have to do that, though. Okay. We went through the type A and type B, stuff like that, in the previous chapter. And we went through the freeze frame, diagnosing intermittent malfunctions. Those can be the most difficult to figure out. Sometimes you'll get a car that has an intermittent problem. And what does that mean? It's not a hard failure. It means it does it sometimes and sometimes it doesn't. Those are the most difficult, and usually that's a wiring issue, that maybe a wire is rubbing on something, but it doesn't do it all the time. But when it does, the car acts up, the check engine light comes on, you get the car, and maybe you can't get it to do it. I checked the codes, yeah, it had this code in it, I didn't see anything wrong, I drove the car, I couldn't duplicate the problem. You give it back to the customer, and a week later, they bring it back with the same problem. Sometimes that happens. Intermittents are the most difficult things to figure out a lot of times. But most of the time, what I've seen is this is a wiring problem or a connector problem, okay? Where sometimes it makes contact, sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes it rubs on whatever it was shorting out on, sometimes it doesn't. Just depends on how the vehicle is being driven, or if you hit a bump, maybe it, you know, it does something, and then when you're driving on a regular road, it doesn't do it. You'll run into that periodically, but the good news is you got the help of the rest of the guys in the shop. You know, they're pretty helpful as far as helping you figure out a car if you can't. Not everybody knows everything. I don't care how long you've been doing this. I don't care how experienced you are. Nobody knows everything, and nobody can fix every car every time without somebody's help. Okay, so don't be afraid to ask for help if you try and figure out what's going on with the car.
You know, I noticed that in the dealerships, they're more helpful than in the independent shops.
Yeah, yep, they will. You know, you're all in there doing the same thing, you know, trying to accomplish the same goals, to, you know, take care of the customer, make sure your car gets fixed, you know, everybody's there to make a living. So they don't mind helping each other out for the most part, at least that's what I've seen, okay? I've never had a situation where I had a problem with a car, or somebody asked me to help them with a car, where I said, no, I'm not gonna help you. Why would you do that? Because you know what? You're gonna need help one day, and you might ask that person, they go, you know what? You weren't willing to help me, so I'm not gonna help you. So the good news is you have all of the resources, you have all of the information, you have all of the scan tools, you have all of the information and help you need to take care of a car if you work at a dealer. So it's a good place to be. Okay, as far as programming, we're not gonna worry about this. We don't do any of this anymore. All of the programming is done the same way now. Right through the workstation, the computer. There's none of this off-board programming and all the stuff that there used to be, so we're not even gonna worry about that. This is just old stuff, okay? You'll see this a lot of times. This has become very, very popular because there's so many controllers on a car. You're gonna see these power supplies hooked to vehicles while people are working on them.
Okay.
Probably everybody's seen that, right? Because a lot of times when you're trying to figure out what's going on with the car, you gotta have the ignition on, and the whole car's powered up, right? The lights are on, all that kind of stuff. That battery's not gonna put up with that for very long. So they put these power supplies on them that keep the system alive. Very important when doing programming. You don't want the battery voltage to go too low while you're trying to reprogram or update a computer. That doesn't work, okay? Make sure that this is programming stuff that we don't use anymore. Road testing, again, that's just basic. If you've got a problem that you need to check the car, road test it, you're gonna probably have to road test almost every car you work on, depending on what it came in for. I mean, it came in for a light that doesn't work, obviously you're not gonna have to take it out on the road to make sure the light works. Depending on what it is. Okay, the end. Yay. Oh, did I not get this from you? I guess I did.
Thank you very much.
How you doing back here? Good. What you got on your shirt today? What is it? Oh, no. Oh. Trying to figure out what that was. It looked familiar. There you go. Who you got on here today? Somebody I know. What kind of car is that? RX-7? Is it really?
Steps.
They haven't made an RX-7 in 100 years, at least that I know of. Mm-hmm. Yeah, my girlfriend back in the day brought a brand new 79 RX-7. No, she sold it a long time ago. This was back, well, it was new back then. She bought it in 79. But that was the first one I'd ever seen. Yeah. Yeah, it was pretty cool. I didn't even know what the heck a rotary engine was back then.
It's a Dorito.
The Dorito, yeah.
Yes, 53. Which diagnostic step is the most important aspect of diagnosis?
Be the very first step.
Visual inspection.
Aside from the tests we do on Wednesday, the
It's visual
ASC test,
inspection.
do you guys want to work together on anything that we
Which one?
do like
Visual
this?
inspection.
Fine with me.
Say that one more time, Ron?
What's that?
What'd you say?
Just what you're doing?
What?
I said, if you guys want to work together on anything like this that we do,
Oh.
that's fine with me. As long as
Okay.
it's not on one of the tests that we do, obviously, those are not.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Sometimes I've had classes that'll all kind of get together and they'll study together, you know, and whatever.
Okay.
Fine with me. So you don't have to, you know, do all this on your own if you don't want to.
Okay, I have it prepared.
What's the first step of the diagnosis?
So when you get done with this, be thinking about what you want to go over from the last 3 weeks. Maybe you want to watch a video on something.
We're doing the
Maybe you
final
want to go over a
today, or the
specific chapter
block
or
test?
some
Final.
sensor or whatever. We can do that because we are actually done with the class after this,
What do you propose?
okay? There's nothing else
I think it's-
required, okay? Other than obviously the tests.
From what chapter to what chapter?
This last 3 weeks that we did, 68 to 90.
That's the final.
What's that?
That's the final?
No, that's the.
No, I'm just saying, if you have any questions on any of 68 to 90, which is our last block of lessons that we just did, we can go back over it, you know, whatever it happens to be, or if you want to watch a YouTube video on mass airflow sensor, I don't know, whatever.
All right.
We can do that, okay?
What's gonna be on the final?
That is what I have in my hand right now, and I will tell you that once we get done with this quiz here. That way we'll be completely done with what we have to do. I'll give you an idea of what's gonna be on here, but this is from the last, all of this is from the last 6 weeks. So at least you're not, you don't have to go back 3 months and remember stuff, so.
Yeah.
But I'll give you a better idea of what you're gonna see, so.
He's not. He said he can't, he should have.
Yeah. So. All right.
I had to buy it for my little girls. I had to buy it for my little girls. My little girl, I had to buy a car for my little girl.
What was the last one?
I had to buy a car for my little girl.
Where are you?
Charles, you signed 5? Number 5 yet? You didn't? Joe, you signed 5 yet?
I think it's A, and I think it was in the last
Oh, yeah, I
chapter.
tried last
We
time.
did it in the last test.
One of my coworkers been is a charger,
Well, the last test, I see the freeze frame says an element of OBD2 diagnostic management system which stores engine data during the DTC set is called freeze frame.
Set number 5?
So I don't know.
Yeah, 5.
Number 5 is 8,
How do you know?
because you can find it on page 139.
Where?
I forgot where, but it's on
Let me go find it.
OBD2 freeze frame?
part of your final exam is going to be moving all of this stuff off of this table into that other room.
Extra credit.
Yep, gotta move all that. But that room has a, like a, kind of like a workbench kind of in the very back of the room. You guys have been in there, right?
Which one?
205 right across the hall.
No.
So all that stuff will fit on there, so I won't even need that table, but. It's a smaller classroom, but it should work. I only got 5 for the next class. I just went through them just now. So, since I never have really enough to fill this class, they decided that they're gonna put, one of the other classes, I'm not sure which one, because some of those other classes, they get a lot of people in them. So they go, well, you know, that room's kind of big for you if you never have more than, 7 or 8 people, which I don't. So, they've been talking about it for a while, but yesterday I got the word. They're gonna move across the hall, so. Tomorrow will be all of our last days in this class. At least in this classroom. Wish I could throw all this stuff away, can't I? I believe I still have all this from Carlos. You guys don't even remember Carlos, do you?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, he sat right there for what, 2 weeks? And he decided he didn't like me anymore?
Wasn't there somebody else in here too?
Yeah, right there next
Yeah.
to Charles.
Yeah. Yep. This guy dropped out after 2 days, and this guy dropped out after, I think, 2 weeks. You know what's funny is the guy that was sitting here, Abdu, he got the best score on that test before he decided to leave out of everybody in the class.
Really?
Yeah, and he sent me a text the next morning, because he never even made it to the dealership. He never even made it to Wednesday. He said, oh, it's not really what I was looking for, thanks anyway, and never heard from him again.
What were you looking for? He didn't want to.
The first thing was that like, low price.
First doesn't tell you like that. All Chris like this is. Now, did you ever do that thing like, or the thing yesterday? You just started. I found Thursday.
I don't know if that guy thought he was taking a cooking class or what, but wasn't really what I was looking for. Really? They tell you what's gonna happen before you get here. You know what you're signing up for before you get here. I don't know why he left. But, that's okay. It's not unusual to have at least one student drop out of every class. I don't think I've ever had a class where everybody that came in the first day stayed all 16 weeks.
Really?
Mhm.
I didn't know what to expect when I got here.
Yeah?
And like 2 weeks in, I'm like, this guy's speaking French or Chinese because I'm not getting anything. And I'm in my head, I wasn't thinking I'm not gonna drop out, but I'm gonna stay in here until I fail.
Until I fail?
Yeah.
Okay, well, you're not gonna fail, so you'll be okay. Yep, but there's a couple of times when I had to just remove somebody from the class. I had one guy that sat in the back there, and I don't know how he passed the drug test, because it was pretty obvious he was he was not sober. So he started getting really flaky, and just, he would skip ahead in the book, and what about this? I haven't got there yet. Yeah. And then he wouldn't show up at the dealer, and I just kicked him out of the class. And then I had another guy that just didn't get it. It just wasn't getting through. He just didn't understand it. And after about, I don't know, 4 or 5 weeks, I just took him out of the class. Said, look, this isn't for you. He just, he wasn't stupid. He just didn't understand this. This wasn't what he needed to do. You know, I'm sure he had a talent for something, it just wasn't this. So I said, look, I don't wanna waste 16 weeks of your life, because you're not gonna make it. Because he failed like every test, and he just didn't understand, and the whole class got together, and they tried to help the guy. Every time, like at break time, lunchtime, whatever, they'd go in the break room, and they would all try to help him out. They were really good with him. He just didn't understand it. He just wasn't getting through. So I said, sorry man, you gotta go. I don't wanna waste the rest of your time here, because you're not gonna make it. But, so again, it's not unusual to lose students. Did you have a question back there, Terrence?
Yeah, so like, somebody kicked him out. So you gotta wait another year to do like, do something in his.
Yeah, yeah. There was a girl that actually sat right here where you are, that had to kick out of the class.
What'd she do?
I met her at O'Reilly Auto Parts. She used to work there. And, I go in there all the time. I got a commercial account there. I spend a lot of money in there because they do a lot of work for people. And, she had heard about the class and she wanted to take the class. Okay, that's fine.
She bought
So,
it.
got her all signed up and all that, and she was here probably 2 months. And she was just too young and flaky and stupid. She'd come in late, she'd stay out all night. You know, one day it was raining, and she told me she couldn't make it to the dealership because it was raining. And I go, really? Everybody else made it. And so I gave her way too many chances. I said, if you no-show one more time, I'm kicking you out of the class. And sure enough, the next day she didn't show up at the dealer. So I sent her a text, I said, don't come back. So, again,
Was she driving a Mustang?
yeah, you know her, don't you? Audrey.
Because one of the students already told me about it.
Yeah, Audrey, yeah. Yeah, she had a white Mustang.
Me and him went to a car meeting, so I was like,
Yep.
"That's the girl from my class."
Yep, yep, that's her.
Too bad.
Because, you know, just like I told you guys from the beginning, if you can't commit 4 months of your life to this class, just leave now. Because you're gonna get kicked out, or you're gonna fail. So, you know, if you stick with it, and you apply yourself, and you care, and you wanna do this, and you're looking for a career and something you can make money on for the rest of your life, then stay here. But if you don't, you know, you don't wanna be here, I don't want you here. So, at least you guys have made it all the way through. That's good.
By the skin of my teeth.
All right, let's go see what we got here on this last one.
Ready?
Yep.
Except for Maurice, who's doing whatever Maurice does.
Yeah, I don't know, he disappears a lot.
The preferred method to clear diagnostic trouble codes is to B, use a scan tool.
Yeah, let me find out. Look through this. Test for tomorrow, and see which ones
Oh,
you
there you
may
are.
need to remember. You doing all right today?
Yeah.
You sure, Maurice?
Aries.
Maurice?
Aries.
Let me get a bumper sticker and put it in the car.
Your car?
Your car.
My car? I put one sticker on my car ever.
Okay. I don't know anything work
Yeah,
back.
take this
Okay,
shit
so
off.
B, all right.
Number 2.
Number 2, yeah.
Oh wait, you're number 2.
How many steps does the book outline for a systematic diagnostic procedure? 8.
Okay?
Number 3, which diagnostic step is the most important aspect of diagnosis? A, visual inspection.
3, visual inspection, yeah, make sure everything looks good.
What
Again,
is
sometimes you
visual?
can fix a car by looking at it, right? It's like I was telling you a story, that guy just had the, engine put in his car that he wanted me to do, I decided I didn't wanna do it, so I gave it to a friend. All he had to do was, I mean, he doesn't even know what he's doing, but he had enough sense to open the hood and take the engine cover off and at least look at the throttle body, you know. Oh, connector not plugged in all the way. He fixed it himself on the road.
Yeah.
Visual inspection fixed that one, right?
Some people aren't able to do that, sad.
Okay, last step.
Is D, verify.
Verify that you fixed it, yeah. Freeze frame, actually 4 and 5 are going to look familiar to you.
Test.
So freeze frame is stored with the side A or B.
Yep, that is correct.
Number 6.
This is a funny question, right?
Yeah, cause I didn't find it at all on that page.
I don't know why they threw this in there, but when checking engine oil, it's normal for the oil to catch on fire if you light. Who's gonna put a lighter, a match to the dipstick?
Hmm.
This is one.
So
Technician B.
what they're getting at, what they're getting at is sometimes if a car has a problem with the fuel injection system, maybe the regulator's leaking, maybe an injector or something like that, you can actually get gas in the oil. But the thing is, you're gonna be able to tell, when you pull a dipstick out, first of all, it's gonna be over full, the oil's gonna be really thin, and it's gonna smell like gas. You don't need to see if it burns, but anyway,
It's B.
yes, it is, yes. Signs of gas in the oil.
Technician A says that most TSBs involve a specific stored DTC. Technician B says the ECT and the IAT reading should be close to the same temperature after vehicle sits for several hours. Which technician is correct? Both technicians.
Both of them, yeah, intercoolant temperature and intake air temperature. We've been through that before. 8's a good question. Where are we at? We're back to
Tiffany.
Tiffany, aren't we?
Oh, Tech A assumes a replacement part is good just because it is new.
He's wrong.
Tech B says that sometimes recent repair work will be the cause of a complaint, which tech is correct, both?
B is right?
It is not both.
A is assuming.
It's
Yeah.
assuming that it's good just because it's new, and we already covered in the last chapter that it may, or previously, that it may not
Mm-hmm,
always be a good part.
mm-hmm, that's why it's only B.
Oh, shit.
What is the first step? What is the first step of the diagnosis process? Retrieve the diagnostic trouble codes.
Isn't it verify?
It's A for 9, verify the problem. By the way, 99% of the time, a new part is gonna be good, but it's not always true.
Yeah.
I've taken new parts out of the box that were bad.
Defective.
It happens, yeah.
Number 10, technician A says that vehicle may have stored DTCs even if the MIL is not illuminated. Technician B says that all DTCs will illuminate the MIL, which technically is correct.
Both.
Could you have a code stored in the PCM even if the check engine light is not on?
Yeah.
Yes?
Yep, you could. This guy says all DTCs will turn on the check engine light, or
No.
in their description, illuminate the mill, right? No, they won't.
Aaron.
So it's just A. Yeah.
Back to the last question where you were talking about how some things don't always come in the right way. One of my buddies, he has an LS400. He ordered an aftermarket bumper,
Uh-huh.
and when it came in, it was in a small box. He didn't know what it was. Maybe like something small, like about this high, this wide. And he opens it up, and it's folded up and saran wrapped. And he didn't realize, well, it was fine, but he thought they just kind of folded it up and sent it to him. And he gave him a call. He was like, hey, why did my bumper come in this box? It's all folded up. How am I going to put this shit on my car if it's fucked up? And he didn't realize it was one of those where you can sit it out in the sun and it expands itself
Mhm,
back to its
mhm,
original
mhm.
shape.
Yep.
So he was like tripping, pissed off because he thought it was messed
Yep.
up.
Yep.
But it was, that's how it's meant to
Right.
be.
They,
and you
they,
can
they
store it
save
however
money
you want.
on shipping that way,
Yeah.
because the package is half the size, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. But yeah, if it's that material where, yeah, just unfold it and let it
Yeah.
stand out in the sun for a couple hours, it'll be fine.
He sat it out in front of his driveway for 2 hours, came back perfect.
Yeah. All right, number one. All these actions involve verifying the problem except for one of them.
A.
All these actions involve verifying the problem. Actually, you would do that.
You would look for aftermarket parts?
Yeah, because sometimes they're the problem. Because sometimes they're poor quality. I've seen people misdiagnose cars all the time, where they'll say they'll have a code for a throttle position sensor. But it wasn't the throttle position sensor
Terminal
because the
sensor
circuit
when
is
problem.
part of the code, right? Maybe the connector was bad, maybe something else was, or maybe a wire was rubbing on something. So they take off a good factory part and put on a crappy aftermarket part, and then they've created two problems. Because now, you still have your original problem, and now you have a crappy sensor.
Would it be D?
What does MIL stand for?
Yeah, it is.
Illuminated, something
For
illuminated
TSPs?
lights.
Oh, really? Okay.
And the
What is the
reason
M in
is
MIL again?
because all these involve verifying the problem.
Malfunction.
You're verifying the
indicator light.
problem here, you're not here. You've already found a problem and you're looking for, is there a bulletin relating to this problem?
Mm,
That's why that's the right answer.
Okay.
Okay. Which following should be checked before returning the vehicle to the customer? That should be obvious.
All of these.
All of those.
What is the factory scan tool for Chrysler brand?
We went
vehicles?
through this one
Okay.
before. We don't really have to worry too much about that.
And DLC.
We've done this one before too. Back in the day before OBD2.
It was A and B.
Yeah, it was A and B, good. Somebody remembered that.
Surprisingly.
If the opposite code can be set, the problem is a component itself. We did that one as well. If the episode cannot be set, the problem's in the wiring or the grounds or the actual PCM itself, yep. Number 6. Okay, so knowing if there's any diagnostic code stores may be helpful. Of course it would be. He says, only a factory scan tool should be used to retrieve. Well, that's not necessarily true, but it's always the best way. So this would be an A. It's a good idea to perform a test drive before attempting repairs. It's a good idea to let the
Situation, yeah.
It's a good idea to let the customer accompany the technician on the test drive.
Right.
That's rarely gonna happen.
Yeah.
Rarely gonna happen.
I've only seen that happen if it's like an ongoing
Mhm.
issue.
Sometimes a customer will bring a car in and they'll say, my car does this when I do that. Can I go for a ride with the technician and show him so he doesn't have to chase his tail? I can show him exactly what to do and how to make it do it. Okay, that's fine. Sometimes you'll have to do that. And which is not a bad idea because now the customer knows exactly when his car does it and how to make it do it. So he can put you in the car and say, watch, when I go around this turn and I hit this bump or whatever, it sounds like the wheel's falling off. But it doesn't do it any other time or whatever, okay? So sometimes you'll have to do that, not very often, but, okay. So we got both of these guys for this one. Check coolant level when radiator is hot, check it when it's cool. Well, most cars have surge tanks, you can check it anytime because you can see through them, so. They're saying radiator, obviously if this was the case, it didn't have a surge tank, you would only do it when it's cool, you don't ever want to take a cap off of a cooling system when it's hot. And number 9 is global or generic scan tool. Can only retrieve emissions related. And number 10 is all generic scan tools must be able to read all generic OBD2 code, yeah. Must be able to, no, they are not required to read manufacturer This is the code, so we're gonna have A for number 10 as well. That is the end. The official end of the class. At least, the official end of the book lessons. All right. We will do that later. So we're gonna do, no, we'll do the, so you don't have to do all these in one day. Let's see. We'll do the test we normally do on Wednesday tomorrow, okay? And then we'll do the final exam today, like we talked about before, and the ASE tomorrow. And then we're done. But I'll let you know what's gonna be on the final exam. We'll do that after lunch, okay?
Okay.
So, at this point, what do you wanna do?
Review,
Okay, but
ASE, question.
you wanna do practice tests for ASU? We haven't done any of those yet, have we?
Yeah.
Yeah, we probably should do that. Okay, I do have this one ready to go, so let's do this one. I'll bring it up on the board, we'll do it together after you go through it. And then we'll go through some of the other ones because we definitely need to get practiced up for this. I know the prints, they're really small on this, hopefully you guys, eyes are better than mine. I have a lot of trouble reading that. And at lunchtime, I'll reprint all of your certificates that I messed up this morning.
How'd you mess up the certificates?
I printed everybody's certificate of completion out this morning, right?
Uh-huh.
So I printed on this special nice paper and put this gold seal on it with the press on it and sign them and put them in little folders, make them, all done with them. And I realized I never changed the date on them. I had to throw them all away and do them all over again. Because the template on my computer, all I do is just change the name in it. Forgot to change the date. I'm like, oh shit, I gotta do them all over again. This looks like the one that you have, right? I think.
Yeah.
Still working on it, or is everybody done? How many questions is it, 20? Yeah,
I'm almost done.
okay.
How about you?
Let's see, we're gonna look at the answers as we go.
I have a question.
Yeah,
If we were to hypothetically not pass this one, can we take it again 30 days later?
you could.
So we just come back here.
I've had students that wanna redo a test that we didn't have enough time in class to redo. I've had them come in and retake a test after they were graduated and all. Yeah, so it's possible. You do have 2 tries, but again, their policy is you can't take it again for 30 days. So you could come back and take it if you wanted to, yeah.
Alright.
Guess I can get rid of all of this stuff on the board now, right?
I've never seen a board that clean.
I know, it's good, eh? I'm gonna have to wipe the whole thing out before I move across the hall. So I think I'll use this space to put some useful information up, right?
Okay.
For the last 3 weeks of stuff that we did. Like maybe, everybody familiar with like all the acronyms that we've been using? There's 1,000 of them in automotive, right?
Some.
The ones that we repetitively use.
Yeah, so everybody knows what PCM is, or ECM, same thing, right? The engine control module, like MAF, MAP,
TP.
MAP, you know, all that stuff. Everybody knows all that stuff?
Yeah.
Okay.
Some, yeah.
So you're pretty much familiar with those. If you see something on a test that says IAT and ECT, like we just saw in that one question, you know what those are?
Mhm.
What's
Okay.
IAT?
Intake air temperature. Okay, so let's see, what can I give you here?
Can you look at the test?
I'm sorry?
Can you look at the test? See what's on it?
Yeah, good idea.
How many questions?
It is, how many questions? 55.
I cannot find Sofrito for the life of me. I can tell 3 Mexican grocery stores and an
What are you looking for?
Sofrito for empanadas. I
Oh.
don't use regato. Regato is Mexican. That shit's nasty. I use sofrito. That's what you use for the empanadas. Or pastelitos. Mexican is empanadas. Puerto Rican is pastelitos.
Okay.
You're talking Italian. I
Mhm.
don't understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
You don't understand empanada
You
or
sound like you're
pastelito?
talking with your hand like this.
I do. I've been around Italian and Puerto Rican. I cannot find, so I'm gonna have to order it think it's good.
Probably,
Yeah, it's more Asian, but I did get some bok choy.
Yeah, this whole final is from the last 6 weeks. It's got a little bit of the electrical electronics from the last 3 weeks and a little bit from, it's about a half and half probably, from the last 3 weeks range of performance. So this final exam is basically stuff from the last 6 weeks. So that's what you're gonna wanna focus on. I'll give you a little bit of an idea of some of them on here after we get through this. Are you done with that one now?
Oh, yes, sir.
Okay. Okay, let's see how we do on this.
All right, number one, which of the following should be the first step in diagnosing an engine performance concern, and that's the road test the vehicle.
Let's
Discuss is
see.
A, right?
discussing a concern with the
diagnosing.
vehicle owner.
Well, you already did that though, right?
No,
Like,
the
I
first step.
assume that's what's done. When you're diagnosing, you already talked to the owner.
Well,
It's the first step.
so let me tell you something about this. We already know that chances are you're not gonna talk to the owner.
Exactly.
Okay?
That's why.
But
That's
that's
just
just,
what the only reason they put that in there is so you know exactly what concern you're looking for. That's gonna be on the repair order.
Oh,
It's just worded funny here.
Okay.
I just start thinking the way they think. stupid.
Yeah, they should have me write these
Half
questions.
their answers are just dumb questions and dumb answers that aren't gonna be realistic.
Yeah.
Assignment to road test, and I was like,
Using a diagnostic strategy for a drivability concern, which of the following is generally the last step in the process, verify and repair. I swear if it's something else.
Verify repair.
Generally, the last step. What's the last step?
Verify and repair.
Make sure you fixed it, okay?
Okay.
Number 3, technician A says paper service manuals are still used in today's service world. I would think that paper still exists, right?
don't think they're
Well,
still
pretty much
used, though.
everything's online now, but again, this is another stupid question. They should just have me write these.
Technician B says to follow the recommended service procedures contained in the online service information. That's correct.
Well, B only makes sense, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Follow the recommended service procedures. Well, yeah, okay. I mean, how could you mess that up?
So
Of course you would do that. Paper manuals, honestly, I don't even know what they're looking for, but let's just gonna say that they don't, okay? Okay.
I'm gonna go grab a water bottle real quick.
So, for engagement for testify sends information, one information is needed to locate the information. Is that the make, model, and year?
D.
I got A VIN.
VIN is actually the best way if you're at the dealer. But if you're just going to get information on a car, again, I don't like this question, but I don't write it. Okay, we got a no start for question number 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, we're on mute, NASA.
Is it A?
DFI is what?
Electronic fuel injection.
Yeah,
What number are we on?
right?
5. What's PFI?
Port fuel injection, and then gasoline direct injection. Port fuel injection is still electronic fuel injection. It just means it has one injector for each cylinder or each port, okay? Okay, so what do we got for this one? What did you come up with?
5A.
You got C? Okay, so let's read this. Diagnosing an EFI, distributorless ignition. That means doesn't have a distributor, right? Okay. Most of them don't. Technician says you should only use a digital multimeter to check voltage value. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, don't use a test light to check, delicate computer circuits, okay? You should use tool to check for spark. Yeah. So you got C, yeah, that's good. Okay. What's being done in this illustration number 6, Terrence? Could you see that picture very good in the printout?
I almost see,
I'm sorry,
see,
see?
yeah.
Okay. Coil polarity? What is this right here?
I can't tell.
Can't tell?
Nah.
Okay.
Oh, wait, is it, would it be a B?
Yeah, it is. This is actually, see how it kinda looks like a spark plug with a little alligator clip on it,
Yeah.
kinda? Yeah. This is a spark tester. They call it ST-125. ST stands for spark tester. 125, what does that mean? That means it has to jump 125 thousandths gap in order to fire that.
So it's B?
It's D, the last
D.
one. Yeah. Checking spark, the ST-125. Whatever.
Technician A says the engine can misfire under load if the ignition coil is short. Technician B says the pickup coil must tie electric grease under it. Who is right? Both technicians?
They should have put ignition module must have dielectric grease under it, not ignition, not pickup coil. But either way, you got the right answer. Okay, number 8, we're back to Tiffany. What do you got?
Probably the wrong answer.
Well, let's see why you got the wrong answer if you did.
A 12-volt test light is connected from the negative primary coil terminal to ground on an electronic distributor ignition (DI) system. The light flutters while cranking the engine. A spark tester does not fire when it is connected from the coil secondary wire to ground while cranking the engine. Which of the following is the most likely cause? A.
A?
Ignition coil. I got it right.
You did good. Okay, now let me explain to you why it's the right answer, if you don't know. So what are we doing here? You got a test light connected to a negative primary coil terminal to ground. Okay? The light flutters when you're cranking the engine. This means you're getting a crank signal. If this was bad or this was bad, you wouldn't get a crank signal. And this spark plug had nothing to do with it anyway. Okay? So if the coil is getting power and it's getting a crank signal, then the coil is bad. Okay.
2 technicians are discussing emission diagnosis. Technician A says an ignition misfire will increase CO and HC emissions and set a DTC. Technician B says a misfire caused by a lean condition will increase HC and CO emissions without a DTC set. Who is right? A.
A?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Number 10, a scan tool is being used to check fuel injector balance. Based on service manual procedure, what is the expected result if the injector is functioning properly?
What is an injector balance test?
Just turn it off.
Based on service manual procedure, what is the expected result of the injector is functioning properly? Engine
Okay,
RPM,
anybody, what's an injector balance test? Describe it to me. Somebody. What's the purpose of it?
To
Anything?
distribute the proper amount of fuel into the chamber.
Okay, to see if all the injectors are contributing the same amount of fuel every time the injector opens, right?
Yep.
It is exactly what the term describes, injector balance test, right? So how do you do it? You do it with a tool, scan tool that'll pulse the injector and a fuel pressure gauge. Okay? Does the pressure drop the same amount every time you trigger each injector with a scan tool? Because you can say, pulse injector number 8, or number 7, or number whatever. If you're not using a fuel pressure gauge, you can shut the injector off, which is what they're doing here. What they're doing in this particular case, they shouldn't have actually called this a balance check. But anyway, what they're doing here is they're shutting the injector off. Meaning they're killing that cylinder. They're shutting the fuel off to that cylinder, okay? So they have a scan tool. You got the engine idling. Let's say you go disable injector number 1. What's going to happen? That cylinder is going to be dead now, right? Because it's not getting any fuel. So what's going to be the, which one of these is going to happen?
B,
B?
isn't it, if they're turning off?
If you shut a cylinder down, which is what you're doing if you shut an injector off, right? Same if you shut the coil off. You can do that with a scan tool. The RPM's going to drop, right? Because now the engine is misfiring, because that cylinder's now dragging its feet, and the rest of them have to pick up the slack, right?
Yep.
Okay, so that's what they're doing here. This is not technically an injector balance test, it's just a cylinder balance test by shutting the injector off.
So it's B.
Okay? So, yeah, you got the right answer,
Okay.
okay?
Question, why is C and D even on there?
C and D make no sense.
Yeah, engine coolant.
This
temperature
has nothing to do with it. Yeah, so, I mean, this should be obvious.
really a A
That
and
should,
B
that should
question.
be an obvious question.
Even I knew that.
Even I, yeah. Did everybody get B on that one? Okay, good. Okay, now let's see what we're doing here. They're talking about doing an injector balance test here too, so let's see. Technician find one injector has failed but receiving good power supply.
Missionary injector power on. Which of the following could cause the vehicle to run poorly after the battery was discharged? or disconnected?
We're on 11.
11.
Oh, so I was reading the right one. During an injector power balance test, a technician finds one injector has failed, but is receiving a good power supply.
Is that an ignition power key?
B.
I know it's not A.
Technician finds one injector has failed, but is receiving a good power supply. Receiving D. Continuity check between fuse and injectors. Oh no. It has good power supply.
If it's got a good power supply,
Oh, so,
Check the
yeah.
ignition power key. Voltage
I
drop
was
of the
kinda going with
continuity
C.
check between PC and injector.
what's wrong, man? You not feeling good?
I don't know,
You bored back here or what?
Good power supply.
All right.
Failed, but is
Follow
receiving
along
good
with this,
power
okay?
supply.
I want you to do good here. We're only got 2 more days, man.
Continuity
Okay.
check between PC and injector. Continuity check.
What's going on with question number 11?
It has good power supply, but
I think
So,
it's
so
C.
first of all, look at the question, look at the possibilities. If it's got a good power supply, can it be that?
no,
Can it be that?
no. So it's PC on the injector. That's what I'm thinking.
I went with C.
So you can immediately eliminate 2 possibilities. If it's got a good power feed, then why would you check this? You already did.
Mhm.
This is gonna be your power too, right? The fuse between the fuse and injector?
Mhm.
Oh, would it be A? The voltage drop.
No, it's C.
It's what?
C.
It's C? Okay. Voltage drop at detector ground. Well, you know it has a good power supply, so this is a possibility, right? Maybe it doesn't have a good ground. Continuity check between the PCM and the injector. Okay, the PCM pulses the injector, right? So honestly, I don't know what they're looking for because A or C seems to me like either one of these would be
I said it was either one, but I
the thing
think
to
it might
do.
be A. Oh, C then. Okay.
Okay,
cool.
okay, good,
C was my first choice, but
Good.
I changed it.
good.
What was the following? What are the following could cause a vehicle to run poorly after the battery was discharged or disconnected?
Normally, this doesn't happen anymore, but it used to, okay? So what's going on here?
Which of the following could cause a vehicle to run poorly after the battery was discharged or disconnected?
So as you drive your car, it learns certain things, okay? The PCM's constantly learning your driving habits, what's going on with the engine. So if you disconnect the battery, it kind of forgets this stuff,
Is
right?
it D?
The read-only memory or the random access memory?
Read only. Random access.
Would have to be the RAM, this one you can't mess with, yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Learned values were lost from the RAM. Okay,
B or C?
RAM.
it was C.
Oh, it was C?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I got it right.
You sound surprised.
I am.
All right. Technician A says if you have a crushed, meaning smashed, not working, whatever, PCV hose, it will affect the idle on some engines and also cause an oil leak.
True.
Okay, that would mean your crankcase ventilation system is not working properly, right? Could it could it affect the idle and cause it to leak oil because now the crankcase isn't being vented? Yeah, that sounds good, right?
Both.
And checking crankcase pressure at 2,500 RPM, this should show a slight pressure in the crankcase idle.
Yeah.
That makes no sense.
No.
So be
You're checking it at 2,500, and then it says it should have a slight pressure at idle.
Wow.
It should never have pressure in the crankcase. Should have got A for 13. Everybody's grading their own as we go, right? I want to see how you did, okay? All right. Technician A says if the PC valve is clogged, the engine could have a rough idle, could it?
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
We've been through this before. If it rattles, it does not need to be replaced.
I was stuck on that one because I'm
Okay.
not sure which.
I know that can be confusing.
It is.
It's supposed to rattle, but
Yeah.
it doesn't mean it's good.
Yeah.
It just means if it doesn't, it's bad.
It's
Okay?
both.
I
Okay,
just said A because I don't know. Okay.
just A. Just because it rattles doesn't mean it's good, but it is supposed to, okay? The flip side of that is if it doesn't, it's definitely bad. All right. 15.
Spark knot.
Technician suspects an EGR valve is closed. This is stupid wording because it's supposed to be closed unless it's commanded to be open. Which of the following would indicate a closed EGR valve? It should just say the EGR valve that isn't opening or isn't working properly. Again, I don't care for the wording here, but you get what they're talking about. What's gonna happen if the EGR valve doesn't work?
Question.
Other than the check engine light's gonna come on? No, it's stuck closed. If it was
Yeah.
stuck open, it would be rough idle.
Stalling too.
Stalling too,
So
probably,
it'd
yeah.
be spark knock or engine start. I think it's spark knock.
Okay? EGR not functioning is going to cause this. And check engine light, to come on. Okay, these are similar to maybe what you're gonna see on the ASE, so Please try to understand all this, and if you don't, we have a day and a half to get you through understanding all of these systems and the conditions that's going to happen if it's not working, if it's stuck over, if it's stuck closed, because you're gonna get a bunch of stuff like that, okay?
Plastic sensors on an electronically controlled EGR valve is melted. Technician A says excessive back pressure caused by a partially clogged exhaust system could be the cause. Technician B says to always check for a restricted exhaust whenever replacing a failed EGR valve sensor. Who is right? Both?
Okay. So, how does your EGR work? It takes a little bit of the exhaust gas, routes it back into the intake, right?
Yeah.
If you had a lot of exhaust back pressure, meaning it can't get out, when that EGR valve opened, it's gonna give it way more than it bargained for, right? Because now you got a whole bunch of exhaust back pressure. Could that cause the electronically, could it cause part of the valve to melt? I've seen that happen, yeah.
Yeah.
Should you check the exhaust if you have that condition? You should, yes. All right, here's an accept question for 17.
Long-term fuel trim is a self-learned value. Disconnecting the MAF sensor or using a scan tool can clear a learned value. Many fuel systems and emission components have a direct effect on the air-fuel mixture ratio. Self-learning control should be cleared each time any of these components have been replaced or repaired, except C.
All right. C, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Okay. So, this is going to affect your fuel trim numbers, this is gonna affect your fuel trim numbers, this is gonna affect your fuel trim numbers. Okay, this could, but
The OBD2 system on a vehicle interprets a disconnected spark plug as a misfire that could damage a three-way catalyst. On which trip will the ECM or PCM most likely turn on the malfunction indicator lamp?
Did the last chapter say the second trip?
on a catalyst damaging misfire, immediately,
First service.
yeah. Not only is it going to turn the light on first trip, it's going to flash the light.
Technician
What
says,
was second, I'm sorry, what was second trip?
Those were non-emissions related.
That, okay.
Technician A says the onboard self-diagnostics test mode procedure should be conducted on a cold engine. Technician B says many diagnostic trouble codes will monitor items only when the engine control system is in closed loop. Who's right? I mean, both could be right. I mean, partially right, yeah.
Think it's both of them?
B.
Should just be B. All right, what component does the PCM or ECM monitor to determine the condition of the catalytic converter?
What component does a PCM or ECM monitor to determine the condition of the catalytic converter? And this is a DTC code if it fails. On the BD, front and rear O2 sensors.
That's what it uses.
What was it?
D, front and rear O2 sensors.
Okay, obviously, we scored our test 20 out of 20. Who got 20 out of 20? No 20 out of 20s, huh? If somebody raised their hand, I probably wouldn't believe you. Okay, how'd you do? You got what? 11 correct? Okay.
I didn't check it.
You didn't do it?
I didn't.
Oh.
I missed 3.
Oh, you didn't grade it? Good job.
I missed 3.
3? How'd you guys do?
I missed 4.
I got 10 right.
You got 10 right? Okay. All right. Well, let's take our morning break for, 15 minutes or so. We'll do some more practice